Let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us take the three refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Okay, we shall now chant the verses to observe the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya majja pamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good morning, brothers and sisters in Dhamma. Welcome to Buddhist Fellowship's Sunday service. Today, we are very fortunate to have Ajahn Khemavaro, all the way from Australia, who will be giving us a talk titled Flowing with Life, How to Deal with Uncertainties. Ajahn Khemavaro, born in Vietnam in 1966, moved with his family to the US at the age of 9. He obtained a BA in philosophy and worked mainly in the banking finance sector. He began his monastic training at Wat Pa Nanachat, Thailand in 1999 and was ordained as a bhikkhu in Ajahn Chah's tradition in 2000. Inspired by Ajahn Brahm, he trained at Bodhiana Monastery for 8 years and has led retreats in Singapore, US, Norway, and Australia. Currently, he is the abbot of Wat Buddha Dhamma in the Blue Mountains of New South Wales. Ajahn will first be guiding us in a 10-minute meditation, followed by his Dhamma talk, and we'll end off with a Q&A session. Let's welcome Ajahn.
Okay. So I'll start with the guided meditation first. About 10-15 minutes. Okay. So first, welcome everybody to the Dhamma talk, sponsored by the Buddhist Fellowship. I'm Ajahn Khemavaro from Wat Buddha Dhamma in New South Wales, Australia. And to start up, we're going to have a short guided meditation. So first, we set up a posture. Make sure you are upright, but also a posture that allows you to be comfortable, but also to support awareness, mindfulness, and energy. And then we close our eyes. And bring your awareness into the body to sweep the awareness from the top of your head down to your feet, soothing and relaxing any tight or tense areas that you come across. And today's meditation object is a mantra, something that encourages us to slow down, to be more present, to let go of the past and the future. Sometimes we live in such busy lives that we forget to take breaks from time to time, to allow the mind to re-energize, to heal, to refresh, to rest for a while. So the mantra for this meditation, which I've used very often, is say quietly to yourself, nothing to do, nowhere to go. The next 10 or 15 minutes, you have full license, full freedom to rest in the present moment. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just focus on the different sensations in the body. Allowing different thoughts and memories to come and go. You're just resting here. No problems to solve, no issues to work out. Just resting in your chair. The next 10 minutes. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. See the mind drift away from the present moment. Just gently bring it back by saying this mantra. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just to rest in the here and now. To be present with the different sensations in your body. Just to rest in the present moment. Allowing the different thoughts to come and go. Not engaging in them, but not pushing anything away. Just being present. Being present with all the sensations in the body. They come, they rise, they stay for a little bit, and they fall away. And you're just resting here. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Anytime you get caught in the moods of the mind, the worry, the anxieties, just remind yourself, Take some time to slow down, to relax, to rest for just a few moments. So much of our life is full of busyness and movement. So it's good to steer towards more balance, allowing the mind to rest, the body to rest, just a few minutes during the day. Sitting with your eyes closed, just relaxing into the present moment, relaxing into the here and now. So just a few minutes of reminding ourselves to slow down, to rest a little bit, reminding ourselves nothing to do, nowhere to go. Pull back from the busyness of life, the noisiness of things around us, and just to come back to the present moment. Allow the mind some rest and relaxation. Allow the energy to be rebuilt recharged. So then we can face life again, full of energy, full of inspiration, optimism. So on the count of 3, you can open your eyes and come out of the meditation. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So, should I go straight to the talk or something in between?
Thank you, Ajahn. Yes, you may go straight to the talk. Your talk is, the title is Flowing with Life, How to Deal with Uncertainties. Thank you, Ajahn.
Yes. So as you all know, the past couple of years, it's been quite challenging for a lot of people. With the sudden ongoing of the pandemic. And in Australia, we have the annual season of bushfires. So a couple of years ago, the monastery was also, the bushfire went through the monastery and burned a few of the huts. So this is the nature reality. This is the thing that, we all have to face from time to time. The world is changing, sometimes very quickly. And as Buddhists, as practitioners, we must find ways to adapt, to change with the world around us. Because the more we hold on, the more we grasp onto things, wishing things were different, the more suffering, the more stress we're causing ourselves and others. So whatever issues that are arising in our life, we're trying to work with it. Any obstacles that you feel is coming, that you're facing, just remind yourself, I'm not going to make a problem out of this. How do I work with this? How do I learn from this? How do I make this work in my day-to-day life? So with the pandemic, it brings up a lot of anxieties and worries that you might get sick, or then there's a lot of fears around the vaccines. Oh, is it good for you? Maybe it's not. Maybe the government's putting things in there that I don't know about. Maybe it's a plot to control people. All sorts of anxieties and worries and conspiracy theories can come out. In that way, we have to go back to the Dhamma, incline towards peace, incline towards rationality and common sense. You do what is required according to your place, according to the rules of your community, and you leave it at that. You look to the future with optimism, with faith, that whatever is coming up, we have what it takes to cope with the ongoing pandemic. You wear a mask when you have to. It's not the most uncomfortable, but it's not going to kill you. Not a problem. You take the vaccine when it's required, and you do your research, but you don't veer towards the anxiety-ridden conspiracy theories that are around. But you also don't veer towards the anxiety of, staying in your house only, not going outside because you're afraid you might catch these things. And life goes on. So it's always the middle way. How do I navigate this in a way that is safe for myself and your family and the people around you? Yeah. So it's where you bring the Dhamma to the daily life. How to navigate. Also a balance between looking after yourself and looking after others. and not give way to anxieties and worries, projecting all sorts of things that could happen. Oh, what happens if everybody gets COVID? What happens when the store goes empty? How am I going to live? What happens if there's no shipment? The mind starts to blow out and project all sorts of, apocalyptic scenarios. But when that's a practitioner, move the mind back to the present moment. This is what's happening right here now. Tomorrow, who knows? But we're just dealing with the present moment. We take our vaccine when we can. We go to work if that's allowed. So always find ways to adapt to your new situation. Not sitting there and complaining, what happened to the good old days when you can travel and you don't have to worry about these tests and these masks. Oh, it's going to be terrible. Can't go anywhere anymore. Maybe, maybe not. So it's always to kind of recollect the present moment. Be in the here and now. To see, and also have faith in the Dhamma. Faith in your ability to solve problems. Because life, the pandemic shows how quickly things can change. But even before the pandemic arrived, life is changing, the world is changing very quickly around us. So we need to, as a Dhamma practitioner, always adapt our practice, adapt our lifestyle to the changing world around us. Those points back to the body and the mind. Our body and mind is constantly changing. Body is aging, mind is changing, moods of happiness, moods of sadness, depressions, anxiety, they come and they go. Our job is just to be aware, to be present, and to learn from these experiences, learn from the moods, not attaching one or the other. Things are going well, oh, this is great, I'm really happy now, just got my promotion, just got a new house, it's great, it's gonna last forever. And then things change, you lose your job, and then you're depressed, things are terrible now, I'm gonna be homeless, no one's gonna talk to me, I'll never find a job again. These just veering one extreme to the other. As a practitioner, you stay in the middle. Like Ajahn Chah said, everything is not sure. Great promotion, not sure. It's good for the time being, but who knows? Just get fired from your job, your husband just ran away with your best friend, not sure. You never know. Maybe it's for the best. So it's not about what's happening, but it's how can you learn from that? How can we react? I think if I remember correctly, there's this story, you've probably heard of it. It comes in many different variety, but it's about this, the village and the horse. I just listened recently, I hope I don't get it wrong. What happens? There's this village, they have a horse. And one day the horse ran away. And it's like, oh, we're getting no horse to work on now. How are we gonna do the work? So all the villagers come to the man's family and say, oh, poor, that's terrible. Your horse just ran away. What are you gonna do now? It's like, this is a terrible, terrible tragedy. And the head of the family says, no, maybe, never know, maybe. And sure enough, a couple of days later, 7 horses, wild horses showed up to his farm. And everybody's really happy. All the villagers showed up again to his house. Oh, it's a great blessing. This is really good, really good. You're so lucky. And he says, maybe, not sure. So, and then the next day, one of his sons took a ride on the horse, right? Just take him around training the horse. And one of the horses threw the boy off the ground and he broke his arm. So then the villagers show up again to his house. It's, oh, terrible tragedy. I'm so sorry for a terrible tragedy. And the man's just like, maybe, maybe not. And then sure enough, the next day, you have the government, the soldiers came by and they were conscripting people to go into the army. And they're taking all the young men from the village to join the army. And because this boy had a broken arm, he couldn't go. They didn't want him because he couldn't. His right hand was broken. He couldn't shoot the gun or something. So all the villagers heard about, oh, Canton House. Oh, you're so lucky, so lucky. What a great fortune you're having. And your son is not in an army. And the head of the family go, maybe not. So the moral of the story is, it doesn't matter what happens on the external level, whether you think good things happen or bad things happen. It depends on how we relate to it. It depends on what happens afterwards. So nothing is really great, or nothing is really terrible in its own way. Sometimes people think, oh, for Singaporeans, losing your job must be a terrible, terrible misfortune. Most people, they're so identified with their careers that you lose your job, like, oh, this is the end of my life. I'm not going to be able to afford my mortgage. No, all my friends are not going to talk to me anymore. I'm a failure. You don't know, because in these days and age, companies retrench all the time. They move. Sometimes you get promoted quickly, and sometimes you get, retrenched just as quickly. But maybe it's an opportunity also for you to do new things, to learn a different trade, learn different skills. Or maybe you have the good fortune to not work. You can work part-time and spend more time with your meditation. So what could appears to be a major tragedy, it could be something that brings, a lot of goodness, a lot of benefit to your life around you. So as practitioner, we're aware, that external things in life is one thing, but that doesn't have to be a cause for your suffering. That doesn't have to be a cause for stress in your life. It's how are you dealing with it? How are you dealing with the new situation, reality? So whatever, like I said, whatever obstacles you're facing in your life, see this as a challenge. See this as a learning curve. How can I learn from this? These difficulties of having problem with my relationship, my partners, my family. How can I learn to adapt, to cope, to lessen the suffering in my life, in their lives? What's a skillful way to move forward? So instead of blaming yourself, oh, I'm just unlucky, I have bad karma, so I'm in this terrible situation. My husband don't talk to me anymore. My family's not happy with me, or whatever we might have. You think, okay, how can I learn from this? How can I grow from these obstacles? Find ways to make things work. How can I be more skillful in dealing with the people around me? With more mindfulness, with more forgiveness, with more compassion. There's always an opportunity to learn through the difficulties. Those who succeed, those have this ability to always continue learning from life, to not get fixed in a certain situation, fixed in a certain habit. Always, whether you're 50, you're 20 years old, 30, 40, 50, you can always learn in the Dhamma and grow as human beings. And that's what the Dhamma is about. It's just growing in goodness, growing wholesome qualities, growing in being more generous with your time, with your resources, growing in ways that you can be more harmonious in your family, at your workplace, with your friends. So every day we're continuing to grow in wholesome qualities, learning to adapt to different places in our situation. And you find that, what initially looks like a tragedy, a loss, a divorce, a loss of a job, relationship ending, long-term relationship ending, might turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. Because it wakes you up. It forces you to find new ways to move forward with life. I think a few years ago, there was a book that came out regarding, it's called C for Cancer. And it was this journalist who was documenting his journey of having cancer of, I think, the throat over time. And actually, it's a non-fiction book. And at the end, I think his wife said he died actually from that. But he was chronicling his disease as the symptom, as it get worse and worse, and different doctors he had to go to. But the funny thing is, even during all this, you would think, stress and suffering, the pain of not being able to taste food, he said, and all this kind of inability to look after himself, to become more helpless as the disease starts to take its toll in the body, and how dependent he is on his wife and family. But what he found was that he said he wouldn't trade that journey for anything. That having this life-threatening disease actually woke him up to the present moment, woke him up to life, reality of life. Yes, we come into this world, there is no guarantee. But just because you have cancer doesn't mean that in itself is a cause for you to suffer. You can still accept it with grace, learn to adapt to it, accept it, and learn new ways. So you appreciate every morning he wakes up that he hasn't died. It's a great gift he has. So he lived each and every day much more with gratitude, much more contentment. Sometimes, we just rushed around our day-to-day life, not really mindful of how much time is passing, not mindful of all the wholesome qualities we can be cultivating. And then we get to a certain point in our life, like, well, I'm 60, 70. I haven't done much. So sometimes having a life-threatening disease wakes us up, allows you to live in the present moment. And let the teachings of the Buddha, it says, the one who lives mindfully is only the one that's truly alive. If you are heedless, it is as if you're dead already. And that's kind of the teaching we have to remember over and over again. It's not through, it's not whether you live or die that is important. It's how you live your life each and every day. You're cultivating wholesome state. You're inclining towards the Dhamma day in, day out, or you're moving away from the Dhamma. And that's more important. Not whether you live or die, how long your life is. It's how are you relating to your situation? Is it with mindfulness and passion and wisdom? Or is it through greed, hatred, delusion? How are we living a life? Something that each and every one of us should always question ourselves every day, 3 or 4 times a day. How am I living my life? Am I inclined towards Dhamma, or am I inclined away from the Dhamma? So that way it will bring some clarity to our life, brings awareness. Sometimes, and it doesn't take much just to incline the mind towards Dhamma. Sometimes we look in the world, often look for things that inspires us, look for things that uplifts us. I always remind people, your world is what you focus on. You focus on the worry, the disease of the pandemic, losing your job, all the sufferings in the world, the injustice, the war that's going to happen, the climate change, the damage, the flooding and the tsunamis. We're looking at all the things that's wrong with the world. And that is your world. Your world that's going to explode anytime. Your world is a world that's full of chaos. Because that's what you focus on. But you focus on of love and generosity, all the inspiring things that happen around you, the charity that people are doing, the generosities that people are doing every day, the care and the compassion that you see around you. And that is your world. Then you'll live in a heavenly realm, a realm of Dhamma, realm of inspiration. We're not saying that you acknowledge the disease and the destruction. Well, we know it's there, but if you focus on them too much, then it upsets the mind. It makes you more sad, makes you more despondent, makes you feel powerless to change it. But you focus on the positive things in life, all the things that you have already, your good health. It's not perfect, but you're healthy. You live in a place that's peaceful, not too violent. Then you're happy, makes you more energetic. Then you can do things to benefit the world, yourself, and the world around you. You can be a positive force of nature, positive force to be a benefit to your community around you. So that's why, as Buddhists, as practitioners, we are always inclining the mind towards positivity. We are eternally optimistic. Every day brings opportunity to practice the Dhamma. Every day brings opportunity to practice generosity, practice kindness. Every day brings an opportunity to pay homage to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Just celebrate that we have the wonderful teachings of the Buddha for us to help solve, the problems of the modern age. These deep wisdoms still apply today as it did 2,500-600 years ago. Truth doesn't change over time. And that's the thing that we always focus on. Otherwise, sometimes we lose sight of it. Every day, hopefully you have a shrine in your room, your house, just bow to pay respect. Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. To compassion, to truth, to integrity, to purity. And that's how that's a way to start the day. Just a reminder that we're blessed with the teaching of the Buddha that we can follow, that we can help use that in our daily life to solve problems, to increase our sense of well-being, to lessen the suffering for ourselves and others around us, to see things in the way of the Dhamma, see things in the way of letting go of distractions, incline the mind towards wholesome states, towards acceptance, towards forgiveness, towards generosity. And sometimes those are kind of simple things, but also important. Sometimes we forget, and then we get caught up with negative states of mind. So hopefully we remind ourselves, oh yeah, okay, back to the present moment, back to the here and now. How do I incline the mind towards Dhamma now? How do I let go of these unwholesome states if they arise? And that's what the Buddha constantly kind of reminds us. We give the teachings of right effort. Right effort is not like sitting, walking meditation 24/7 or sitting without moving for 8 or 10 hours on your cushion. Right effort is just looking to the mind and letting go of unwholesome states and generating wholesome states, and make sure that increases. You have unwholesome state, you decrease that and make sure they don't arise in the future. And that is the essence of right effort. So you can be meditating or you can be walking, doing your daily chores. But how are you doing that? Are you inclined towards peace and acceptance, or are you inclined towards irritation, anger, and vengeance? So hopefully as we move throughout the day, we are having Dhamma with us, having the Buddha with us, reminding us to always incline towards wholesome states, to move through the world in the way that is not leaving a trace, not making a big splash. We move. We just move along with the world, not creating issues or problems as we move through the world. We're so quiet, we move to the room, no one knows. When we leave the room, no one notices. Just pleasant memories. And with these teachings of, with the changing world, is something that I find it very timely, something I'm trying to encourage people, to remind people to reflect over and over again. Because the pandemic is a great lesson for each and every one of us. The world that we know pre-pandemic, no longer here. Moving forward, how are we going to make this work now? How are we going to adapt? How are we going to kind of adjust our expectations about social interaction with the world? So sometimes you meet challenges, you have a difficult day. It's like a deep breath. Remind yourself, I have the Buddha and the Dhamma and the Sangha inside me. I will make this work. This will work out okay. This all will be okay. So move forward. Always incline towards the Dhamma, incline towards reality, incline towards truth, incline towards letting go. Knowing that this is the most important thing. It's not what's happening outside, the external events, whether there's pandemic or not pandemic, whether you have a job or not. It's how are you relating to it? Are you relating with the acceptance, with forgiveness? Or are you fighting it? You're resisting. You're saying, I don't want this. I want something else. That's where the stress is. The stress is not that we have to wear a mask. The stress is, I don't want to wear a mask. It's uncomfortable. That's where the problem is. Yeah, so like when Postamato says over and over again, doing things is easy. It's the thinking about it. That's the problem. It's the judging the opinions around things. That's the problem. But as practitioners, Buddhists, as disciples of the Buddha, hopefully we're always inclining towards peace and harmony within ourselves and the world around us. Let that be our guide. Peace and harmony with ourselves and the world around us. And we're the proper disciples of the Buddha, followers of Ajahn Chah and the great teachers. So I offer those few words for your reflections this Sunday afternoon in Singapore. Hope that is useful. And may you all go forth in Dhamma, in truth, in love and compassion.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
Yes, there are a few questions, Ajahn.
Okay.
The first question is, a mother faces uncertainty of his son's future. She wants her son to get married and have a good career. This causes stress to her son. What advice can Ajahn give to both of them?
How old is the son?
I guess working age. Just my
50?
Yeah.
50 years old already?
To get married, I guess must be in the 20s, 30s.
Yeah, I think it's a common issue that comes up with a lot of Asian parents and men and women. I think, and I always encourage the parents to, strive for the balance of caring for your children, but without too much clinging, because you cause suffering for you both, for you and your kids. So you offer what you can when they're 18 years old. Once they pass 18, in their 20s, you have to start pulling back and let them know that you love and care for them, but and you may offer suggestions to how they should proceed with their lives, but allow them to make the decision, to make their own mistakes. Sometimes it's not easy, but sometimes if the parent is too controlling to the kids, it creates a lot of resentment and rebellion, and then both parties are not happy. So that's my advice to the mother is, you let them know that you care and you love them and you want to help them, but then you allow them to make their own mistakes. If he doesn't want to get married right away, and that's fine. As long as it's not, keeping the 5 precepts, it's not hurting other people, hurting anybody else. It's his life to choose when and who he wants to get married to. Yeah, that's my advice to the mother. With the gentleman, like I said, to have respect for your parents, to also listen to their advice. You might not agree, but at least allow your parents to have their say. And then after that, if you decide to do things differently, just explain to them. But or you appreciate their advice, you feel that you want to go in this different direction, but knowing full well that you are responsible for your life. So you want to drop out of college, fine. But knowing full well that you may not get a job, and then that's also up to you. But you have to bear the responsibility of your own choices. Yeah. So I encourage people to take responsibility for your choices, but allow each other to make mistakes. And also, it's normal these days. I get a lot of requests from parents who say, "Oh, Ajahn, can you tell the kids not to play so much on the videos? Play so much computer games?" Like, no, we're living in the world where kids are on the computer all day and all night. So you can moderate them a little bit, but if you don't allow them to do that, they just go to their friend's house and play computer all day and all night. Yeah. So it's a lot of it is just acceptance, learning to adapt with the new culture of it is. Yeah, you may not agree that the computer is so good for the kids, but on the same hand, you can't stop them either. Yeah, so it's a balance. People do different things. They lock up the computer, they lock up the Wi-Fi, they turn off the electricity, and all that just creates a lot of suffering for the whole family, for the kids and the mother. Because when the kids are not happy, then you're gonna do things that also annoys you later. Yeah, so compassion, but also with wisdom. I know you want to care for your kid, you want them to do well in school, but if you are too heavy-handed, too strong-fisted, as they say, it's going to create suffering, a lot of suffering for yourself and others. So always do in a way that is gentle, the guiding way, and with the heart of letting go. That okay, I offer you my suggestion, but you don't want to do it. You want to spend all day playing video games and not doing your schoolwork, then you're going to flunk and you're not going to get a good job. And then fine. And you need to deal with that when you do the result of your decisions. And sometimes it's painful for parents to say, "Oh, I don't want my kids to be a bum." But if you suggest, give advice and just to follow, there's only so much you can do. Remember, you don't control your body and your mind. How are you going to try to control your kid's body and mind? That's impossible. So you're setting up a lot of suffering for yourself and others. So like I said, your parents, you be patient, let them know you care and love them. But ultimately, they will decide what they want to do. Yeah, which sometimes is hard for parents to accept.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Good advice. Second question. Young adults who have just entered society face many challenges and uncertainties. This may cause some to engage in sex and alcohol to release stress and have moments of happiness. How do we deal with this problem?
Yes, I think alcohol and sexual relations is part of the new reality. There's lots of dating apps around. Everybody's free to date everybody these days, and everybody's so as a society we're still kind of adapting to this new cultural thing all over the world. In Australia, I'm sure Singapore, anywhere else, people are going through this change, and it's just, which is fine. That's how the world is moving towards that way. But you just caution your kids that these look like it's happy, but it's so short term, and just tell them, remind them to always ask, is this true happiness? Is this true happiness? Drinking alcohol, is that really happiness? Is the next day, is that happiness as well? All the money you spend on alcohol, is that really happiness as well? So it's just, you have to understand the short-term happiness and the long-term welfare as well, to find a balance for that. You ever get drunk, know what that feels like. This is what it feels like when you drink too much. Sometimes the kids do have to make their own decision. They get drunk a few times, throw up, they feel, oh yeah, it's not very fun, so they can change their moral behavior. They date many people, it's not as fun as it sounds. Lots of suffering involved around that as well. So just tell them, is this really fun? Are you sure? Is this really happiness? And sometimes people have to make their own mistakes. So as long as they're not hurting, harming other people, not lying, not cheating people, then you have to allow these adults to find their own way in this new world of ours, this new reality that we're facing. You know, globalization, everything is instantaneous. You don't like somebody, you just swipe left, swipe right or something, and you get a new date. You have a new date every single day. But that's not fulfilling either. That's not very fun. Yeah. So, you know, with anything, people have to know for themselves. But you can reminding your kids, reminding adults, is this really happiness? Does it really bring sense of well-being, true sense of well-being, or is this just a temporary thing? But sometimes people have to go through these periods where they smoke a lot, drink a lot, and go out a lot. And they find out, yeah, it's not that fun. You know, it's very expensive. And the friends I meet are not very true friends. They don't really care for me. They just want to go have fun. So then you know what is a true friend and what is just a good time friend. But sometimes that's part of wisdom, knowing for yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, Ajahn.
So for the young adults, the advice is to know for yourself what brings you happiness, what brings sense of peace, and not to always listen to what society tells you is happiness. You know, question that. Question also what I say. Question what the monks and nuns tell you. Is that happiness or not? You put into practice, it works or not. Yeah. So you have to know for yourself. Once you know for yourself, then you have much more confidence in your decision-making process. You know what works. But sometimes we have to make a lot of mistakes. But it's not making a mistake. It's not a problem. As long as you're learning from your mistakes. As long as you grow from that. And that is worthwhile to do. Okay.
Thank you, Ajahn. Some teenagers who cannot face the stress and uncertainties of life have suicidal tendencies. What advice can be given to these kids?
Yes, in Singapore and also in Australia, highest suicide rates among the youth. And I think it's part of a social problem that we face because from a young age, they have these devices. They spend so much time on their phones and iPads. And actually, it lowers the energy in the mind. It tires the mind. And when the mind is tired, that's where the negative states come from. That's where mood swings. You have the depression, you have the attention deficit syndromes that kids have. They can't stay still for more than a few seconds. I mean, these kids these days, I think they come to monastery, really, really smart, move quickly, but they're not very still. They all have their very short attention span. And there's a lot of anxieties and issues that come up for young adults because the mind is tired. It's not rested. And so I encourage them to be grounded in the real world, not the digital world. Put your phones down and go for a walk in the park. Go for a walk around your neighborhood. Go for a bike ride. So encourage them to go outside and experience the world in real time, real space. Connected with people on a physical level, not just digitally. Sure, you know, when I visit my parents, my cousins, nieces and nephews, they're in their room all day long. They don't come out. They'll come out to eat, grab something, run back to the room. All day long, they're on their computer, interacting with their friends. And that's fine. But I encourage them just, sometimes put it down and just go for a walk. And, turn off your computer a couple hours before you're sleeping. That way the mind can slow down and rest. So it is, we're slightly out of balance with the digital devices. But with anything, I think going forward, we will start to swing back to be more skillful at using these devices. Because I think early in the day when they first came out, Apple and all those people, Samsung, they Google, they were afraid that they wouldn't have what it takes to keep people using them. But now they realize that these tools are super powerful and that people can't stop using them. Then they're finding ways to help you, to have, off time and to have, freeze the screen for 20 minutes and allows you to rest. So they're realizing in fables that it's too powerful and that people literally spend all their waking moments on these phones and on these sites, and that they're trying to help people to be off it. They say, rates of, kids are super anxious. They lose their phone, they said. Yeah, because that's their whole life now is on the phone. So people are finding ways to strike a better balance between using these very powerful tools, but also not becoming too addicted to it. And that's the human experience. We get addicted to everything that we touch. We grasp onto anything. So we have to find a middle way of using things skillfully and then leaving alone when you don't need it so much. Yeah. And this is where you can also use technology for the Dhamma. There's lots of meditation app that is on your phone that you can use to help you focus on meditation, to help you put down the phones. There's lots of Dhamma talks on the internet as well. You can also use that to point you, remind you about the Dhamma, remind you towards the practice. So in that case, that's where there's a lot of positive things, especially in the days of pandemic. We don't have to be in the same room with each other anymore. We can all meditate at home quietly on the screen with each other, have a sense of community. So that's also very positive things that happen from the pandemic. People are a lot more connected through, these digital devices. So that's helpful. But nothing beats real interaction. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, it's nice to have a Zoom interaction, but many people tell me, like we just have a retreat recently, it's so much nicer to be in a room with 40 other people, to be sharing the space together. Even with, we're fully masked, but it's still something nice about being in the same room as other practitioners. Feel the energy, feel the support. But if you can't do that, then yeah, digitally meeting together is also very helpful. It keeps you focused, reminds you that, yeah, there is this community that I can relate to, that you're not alone in your practice, in your journey, that we can support each other, hopefully in real life. But if we can, then we can do it over the internet. That's also fine. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you, Ajahn. Before I ask the last two questions, anyone from the floor has any questions for Ajahn? Or you can type in the chat box if you have. Okay, then I'll ask the fourth question. There are people who yearn to win the New Year multi-million-dollar lottery. Will winning the lottery really make their lives better?
And that's the funny thing. And we're conditioned to think, okay, I make $100,000 a year. If I make 120, I'll be really happy. I'll be 20% happier, I'm sure. If I make 200,000, I'll be twice as happy. But that's not how that works. That's just a delusion of the mind that you have to be aware of. That I think there's enough evidence now. There's enough winners of these huge lotto from the States, from Australia, from different countries that you can Google. And actually people found out that a lot of times winning the lottery thing is the worst thing that could happen to somebody, because they lose perspective. They spend the money on unwholesome things, and they really, messed up their life. Their wife, they get divorced, they spend everything on drugs and booze and all that stuff, unwholesome stuff. And within a few years, 5 or 10 years, it's all gone. Yeah. So that's one thing. You could do some research on that. I just actually saw a headline. Funny you asked that, a couple of days ago. And the headline of the story, I didn't read it. The headline of the story says, "How winning the lotto, 55 million, ruined my life." And that's interesting. Yeah. And as you think, oh, it must be great. It must be, yeah. But it's not always, because it's how we use wealth that is important. And so often you look around you as well. You see, children's relatives of wealthy people, and they make a complete mess of their lives through just unskillful things. Parents are too busy working. They just throw money at the kids. Kids, no one to look after them. They grow up spoiled, bratty, and completely ruin their lives through drugs and alcohol. So wealth is not always the positive things. Wealth is only great if you use it wisely, use it with kindness and wisdom. Then wealth is a positive thing. But wealth is just a thing. Depends how you use it. Depends on the user. That's important. Depends how you approach it with your mind. Is it through generosity, looking after yourself and others around you? Or is it increasing your sense of selfishness? That I am rich now, I do whatever I want. I don't have to be nice to people. I just be mean to them because I've got lots of money now. Yeah, so that way, in that case, it brings up a lot of unwholesome states. And that it could be, for your long-term detriment rather than your long-term benefit. Yeah, so sometimes we think, we have ideas about what would be wonderful to be in our life. But the Buddha says, the highest wealth of the world is having a good friend. Really. The highest wealth in terms of the Dhamma is having wisdom. That's your highest wealth. Highest wealth is having good health as well. What's the point of being a rich millionaire if your body's sick all the time, you can't enjoy anything? So much of the external world is just not the most important thing. Important thing is, how are you relating to that? Are you relating to your life, your $50,000 a year salary, with gratitude and contentment? This is good enough. I have enough to live by. I have enough food. I've got a place to stay. I can practice Dhamma. That's a great blessing already. I don't need extra money to be happy. And also, they did some research that your level of happiness is an individual thing. The money is only one of the factors, not the most important factor. They say something, I think this is a study of a few years ago. It says if you make the optimal level of income is about 50, 60,000. This is in Australia or the US, depending on where you live. And they said that is the maximum happiness. You make too much more than that, it doesn't really increase. Make too much less than that, it starts to lower, because you don't have enough money. Then you always worry about paying the rent, having enough to fixing your car. So that causes anxiety. You don't make enough money. But you have too much money, it also brings other sets of worries. What do I do with my money? Are these my true friends, or they're just hanging out with me because they want my money? It's my kids, you're too busy working, so you're looking after your kids properly. So it brings all sorts of other sets of troubles and people who make a lot of money. So we think, oh yeah, if like you said, if I'm making 50,000 a year, if I make 100, my happiness must be double. That's not how it works, unfortunately. Your level of happiness is internally, depends on your state of mind. And that's something as a Buddhist, as a meditator, you can improve on. That your happiness is level of contentment. How content are you? How are you? How's your mind? Is it wholesome or not? Are you inclined towards gratitude, contentment, love, and acceptance? Or are you relating to the world with greed, wanting more things? And the Buddha said, greed is a river that cannot be tamed. It's endless. You get your 50, you pay 50, you want 100,000, you get 100,000. This is up there, you want 200,000, you want 300,000, 400,000. Greed is endless, it goes on and on like that. And that's why you can see people have 1 house, 2 house, 3 house. They keep getting more and more things because they think, oh, that makes me more happy. But it doesn't. Having more houses just means you have to worry about more things. Yeah, so keep that in mind. That we think owning possessions makes us happy, but sometimes the possessions own you because you're constantly worried about it. Worrying over the other things, when you leave the house, oh, did I turn on the alarm or not? Maybe I didn't turn on the alarm. I go back, someone's going to take my stuff. Oh, yeah, so you're constantly worried about this. So that's why your possessions own you sometimes. You're not careful. So that's my take on the lottery.
Yes, Ajahn. Thank you. Someone here asked, is it all right to use the winnings to donate to a monastery?
Well, that's what I mean. So you can use your wealth in a wholesome way. You can contribute to charity, to homeless people, hospitals, monasteries, meditation centers, share around to your loved ones, your relatives. Yeah, so that's more wholesome. And that's what I really appreciate. Recently, all these billionaires in the US, they're saying they're not living very small portion to their kids. The most of them donate to charity. Yeah, so that's really a wonderful thing. Yeah, to help the homeless, the education, health in Africa and different places. Yeah, to make the world, a slightly better place, more equitable place. And that's a good use of wealth. That's what the Buddha said. Wealth is, you spend 30% on yourself just because you're Buddhist. Some people think, oh, I'm a Buddhist, I shouldn't enjoy myself. I shouldn't go to a nice restaurant. It's just taste anyway. I should stay home in a dark room, should meditate 24/7. That's how I should do. That's not what a good Buddhist is. He said you can enjoy your wealth. If you got it legally, rightfully, you enjoy your wealth. You have your dinner. You can enjoy a nice dinner. But knowing that nice dinner is just nice dinner. It's nothing lasts forever. But certainly you can enjoy your nice dinner, your holidays, because you earned it, you deserve it, and that's fine. So you spend 30% on yourself, on comfortable stuff. The other 30% you spend on your relatives, loved ones. And then the other 30% you spend on society. You try to improve the society that you live in, make that a better place. Yeah, and Buddha said that's roughly the percentage of how the wise person use their wealth. So certainly you can enjoy yourself, but you can also look after others as well. And that is a wise use of wealth. Yeah.
Thank you, Ajahn. Last question is, how do we deal with new and uncomfortable situations?
Yes, through acceptance. Any new and comfortable situation is not uncomfortable, but it won't kill you. And like I said earlier, don't make a problem out of this. This is a learning opportunity. How do I be more comfortable with this? How do I grow from this? Yeah, an uncomfortable situation is not pleasant, but it won't kill you. And you have what it takes to learn to be at ease. Maybe it's the first time you're not comfortable, but when you do it more often with anything, you get better at it. So now that's why, how can I get better at doing this? Whether it's public speaking, whether it's a new job, a new skill that you need to learn, we possess the ability to learn, to adapt. And the more calm your mind is, the more you enhance that ability. And also acceptance. You're old. I can't learn too many new technical skills, and that's just the way it is. And you leave the computers to the young people. You keep it as low tech as you can. Yeah. So a lot of time it's just acceptance. This is where I'm at. Yeah, it'd be nice if I can, do a lot more on the computer, but I can't. So it is what it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Ajahn. Let's all say sadhu, 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 sadhu. Ajahn, maybe before we close, maybe a request, sharing of merits as well as a short blessing from Ajahn.
Okay, yes, I'll do a sharing of merits. In English,
Yes.
you're
Anything will
focusing
do.
and sharing your merits on your loved ones and to all beings of the world, in Singapore and Australia and everywhere in between. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless through the goodness that arises from my practice. And through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease and all unwholesome states of mind. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all unwholesome states of mind. And I share this with all beings. Okay. So that's the sharing of merits.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay, no, very good. So you have a good afternoon.
Ajahn.
I'll see you next.
Dedication of merits. Let us invite all sentient beings to participate in our acquired merits. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Let us dedicate the merits of participating in this wholesome Dhamma activity to our departed relatives and friends. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
We hope that you have enjoyed the talk. Next week, we have Sister Sylvia Bay, who will be giving us a talk in person at Buddhist Fellowship. We hope to see you soon.